Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. I'm just going to give a few more moments to let a few more people in to the webinar, and then we'll get going. So give me 10 seconds, and we'll get started on this. Okay, that's about it. Okay, well, let's get started, everyone. Well, first of all, thank you for joining me. We're going to do a webinar today on the Spanish Golden Visa, which is a very hot topic at the moment, probably which brought a lot of you here. And there's a number of reasons for that. Probably mainly really is the end of the Portuguese Golden Visa, which, well, the end in its current form of the Portuguese Golden Visa, which some of you may or may not be aware of. Obviously, with Golden Visa programs, they give you the right to travel freely throughout the EU. Now, Portugal's always been a very favorable one with a lot of people because the entry point to Portugal through property was 285,000 euros, which, compared to other Golden Visa schemes, was one of the lowest. That's actually now been removed. You can't now buy property in Portugal to get a Golden Visa. You can still invest in Portugal to get a Golden Visa, but you now need to be looking at investment amounts, excuse me, of 500,000 or more in order to do that. There's still benefits to the Portuguese Golden Visa scheme, absolutely, but it's maybe a little less attractive, which is now making people look at alternatives. And one of the main alternatives is obviously Spain, being the larger neighbor, if you like, and also giving lots of the same benefits. Now, Spain, again, is a fantastic Golden Visa scheme, which I'll go through today. And obviously go into a little bit more detail. I'll also do some questions and answers at the end because we had a few questions come in, which obviously I can try to cover. So that's the reason for it. And obviously, in addition to that, Spain is a wonderful country to live in, which I can testify myself. So basically, my name's Sam Daines. I'm the Senior Wealth Manager here at Holborn Assets. And I specialize in the residency by investment. Before I go into a bit of detail about myself, I have put my mobile number there, which is it's a UK number, but I am actually based in Spain. So please make a note of that. And I've also put my email address there at the bottom, sam.daines@holbornassets.com. So please feel free to message me with any questions that you have. Also, if you want an appointment, speak to me. It's all completely free. It's free consultations. I'm completely aware that everyone's situation is incredibly different. So I'm able to go through your personal situation. In an attempt to move with times, I have also put in a QR code where you can scan that with your phones and it should access my diary and you can book yourself in. I know we've had a little problem with this today where people have actually scanned it and there hasn't been any availability for 3 months. And I am busy, but I'm not quite that busy. So I do have appointments available next week. So if you do scan that and there's nothing available, please drop me an email and we'll get you booked in at the earliest convenience. Just a little bit, while we're on here, a little bit about myself. So as I say, my name's Sam Daines. I actually live in Spain. So I live down in a little place called Estepona. So people that are familiar with Spain will know where that is. It's right down the south. We look out towards Morocco. So from where I am, it's beautiful. You can go to the beach and look out towards Morocco. Lovely place to live. I've lived here for 6 years. So I worked as a financial advisor in the UK for around about 17 or 18 years. And then I made the move over here to actually get my residency and to live over here in Spain around 6 years ago. So I have been through the process which some of you are looking to do, and I am aware of the hurdles that you have to go through. So obviously I'm here on the ground to help you with that. So as I said, I've been here 6 years. My background in the UK, I worked for HSBC for a number of years, Nationwide Building Society, if anyone's familiar with them. Also for Wesleyan Assurance, which is a huge organization that provides financial advice. I decided to make the move over here to Spain really for a lifestyle choice, to do the same role really that I was doing, obviously now expanding into doing residency by investment. And I've been here for 6 years and I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic place to live. It's the lifestyle here, the culture here is brilliant. So really, we've got this scheme now to help people get over here and to make it as simple as possible for people. So as I say, what I'll do is I'll go through the agenda of what we're going to cover today. So first of all, I'll give you a bit of background in terms of Holborn Assets and Holborn Pass. So I work for Holborn Assets, and Holborn Pass is a part of Holborn Assets. Now that specializes in citizenship and residency. So obviously I'm concentrating on Spain because I live in Spain and that is my specialist knowledge. But we actually have the Holborn Pass as a department actually cover all different areas. So we do schemes for people looking for citizenship and residency in the USA, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Portugal, Dubai. And there's in the later slide, I'll go through all the different places. So anybody actually is even looking at other places, we can help with that. But obviously today I'll concentrate on Spain. So I'll talk a little bit about residency by investment. So what do you need to do in order to get your residency in Spain and in other places as well, and what that actually gives you and what that entitles you to. We'll also talk a little bit about the Spain Golden Visa program. So what is it? Why is it there? What does it offer? There are a number of different types of visa schemes that people will be familiar with. And it is a bit of a web to untangle, really, because you hear of non-lucrative visas, lucrative visas, golden visas, and really it's understanding the benefits of each one. And I will say the golden visa really is the all singing, all dancing visa to have. Which ultimately can lead to citizenship, and that's effectively getting your passport in Spain. So I'll talk a little bit about that. We'll look at the process to doing it and what the benefits are of that, okay? Because the process we've tried to simplify and make it as easy as possible. And there's obviously a huge amount of benefits to having a Spanish golden visa, so we'll go through that. And what we'll talk about is a little bit about the real estate options. So, what we do is we look at what is the best way to help our clients to get the Spanish Golden Visa. And we actually have a suite of options that people can look at, which is the cheapest way that you can get the Spanish Golden Visa and the quickest way. So I'll talk through an example and how that works as well. And then I've got some questions and answers that I'll go through. So people that maybe have raised some questions, I'll try to go through them if we've got time as best I can. And hopefully that will maybe even piece together some questions that other people have as well. And I will reiterate at this point, both at the beginning and at the end of this presentation, you do have my phone number and you have my email. Please feel free to bombard me with questions, emails, have an appointment if you want to talk to me and go through everything. Say, use a QR code as well if that works. If not, contact me directly. So, okay, let's make a start then. So just talking a little bit about who we are and what we do. Okay, it's very important to know who you're dealing with. A lot of you might already have heard of us. But essentially, Holborn Assets, us as a company, we are a global wealth management firm. So we started back in 1998, which is around, well, it's 25 years ago. So we're a very long-running firm, British family firm, and we've spread out from where we started to actually include 20 international offices and over 500 employees around the world and over 20,000 clients. One of our international offices is based here in Spain. So our office is in a place called Puerto Banús, which is around 15-minute drive from my house, which is where we actually have a physical office, so we can see clients there. And if anyone is coming over, we're more than happy to meet there and have a chat. But as a company, we've won numerous industry awards for the service that we provide. There's some more awards coming up very soon, I believe, which we've been nominated for a lot of them. And we win a lot of awards. And not only that, we have an excellent rating on Trustpilot, which obviously shows that it's not just the industry that recognizes us, but also the clients that we have. Now, the reason it's important to understand the two parts of this, Holborn Assets and Holborn Pass, is that first and foremost, we are a investment company, a wealth management company. We put investments first. So when we're looking at something like the Spanish Golden Visa, we're looking at what is going to be the best way to achieve that, what is the best investments to do that. So we put our investment cap on, if you like, to help people navigate the best way to do it. Around 6 years ago, we created Holborn Pass, which basically is a way of giving people brilliant investments, the best possible investments, but also where it's also offering the benefit to be able to travel freely around Europe, to give you the additional benefits. So not only do you have the investment side of it, but you also have the freedom to travel, obviously, which we'll go into. In terms of what we've done so far, we've processed, this is not just in Spain, this is obviously in all the different programs, over 1,000 applications. I think last year we were one of, if not the number one issuer of Portuguese golden visas, because obviously that was incredibly hot last year going into this year. Really, it's been so successful, if you like, of people wanting to do it. However, now that has been withdrawn. And I will say at this point, by the way, when they withdraw the Portuguese golden visa, anyone that's already on it is entitled to it. And we've had a 100% success rate as well. So every application we put through, we've got through. So we don't have rejections. We know exactly what we're doing and what we need to do to have the application go through. So obviously that's very important. I'll probably mention this again in the presentation, but I'll just say it here while I remember. Please be aware, in terms of the Portuguese golden visa and what has happened with that, there's obviously murmurings with regards to Spain, because a lot of the time these countries mirror each other. And now that we know that the Portuguese golden visa is gone, then there is a likelihood that Spain may follow. Whether that's going to be sooner or whether it's going to be later, we don't know. We know there's been murmurings, and part of the reason for this is that, particularly in Portugal, the view was that you're attracting people into the country, so you're attracting a lot of wealth into the country. And by doing this, though, you are essentially raising house prices. The house prices are going up, and that in turn is making it difficult for people to afford. Therefore, the Portuguese Prime Minister removed property as a way of getting a golden visa. Spanish house prices have been going up. Is it going to do the same thing? Possibly. So the only reason I say that is people that are interested, don't dwindle around too much, because in my experience, they tend to follow each other, and property may be something that is removed from Spain. But as yet, we don't know anything. We've just had murmurings. Even in Portugal, anyone familiar with Portugal has NHR, which is a non-habitual residency. It's a type of tax in Portugal that is incredibly beneficial to people living there. And it was another reason a lot of people went to Portugal. But that, we heard, as of Monday, has also been withdrawn. So the Portuguese government in particular are trying to stop really people coming in and exploiting the system, if you like, and maybe affecting the economy. So again, we're keeping our eyes on that, but just please bear in mind that. So anyway, that is an overview of us as a company. But as I stressed before, investment is our priority, really. So we're looking at what are the best investments that will also give you the benefit of the golden visa. So in terms of what we do at Holborn Pass, so this is really important. Obviously, we'll go into what the golden visa is, how that works, but just to understand what we do, in terms of getting anything sort of sorted here in Spain, it is a minefield. It's incredibly difficult. I had to get my residency card, the amount of trips I had to do back and forth just for a simple residency card. I was here before Brexit, so I was able to do it in a slightly different way, which is a more simpler way, arguably. And it was really difficult. It's going back and forward. The language barrier, the forms, it's very difficult. So what we try to do is provide a one-stop shop for people looking to get the golden visa. So we can do everything for them. Okay, and that is really where we're sort of standing out, if you like, from the crowd. We make it as easy as possible, whilst also getting an excellent array of investments. So just to run through what we do. Okay, so we prepare all the residence permit applications. So we do all the applications that you need. We do it, we prepare it. So we will get the ID identification, things like that we need off our clients, and then we prepare all the permit applications. We then submit these permit applications ourselves. So we do all that on your behalf. You don't need to worry about it. There'll be things we need off you, but you don't need, other than giving us what we need, we would do the majority of what needs to be done. We'll advise you about the real estate opportunity. So we've gone out there, we've looked at what are the best investment opportunities. Now, I will say at this point, when it comes to the Spanish golden visa, we tend to look more towards commercial opportunities, and that will become clearer later on in the webinar. But we look at what are the best real estate opportunities to get you the golden visa, whilst also getting, a huge amount of benefit in terms of the investments. And we do all the due diligence on these projects and these developers. Again, over in Spain, you've got to be very careful in terms of the property market and buying something, if you like, that ultimately may have some legal issue. You might have, it's been in the news a lot where there's certain developments for the start and then they end and they're not ever finished. We do all the due diligence on these projects and these developers, so you don't need to worry about that. We negotiate the best prices as well on these particular opportunities. Obviously, we're a huge company, as I said earlier, in terms of the amount of clients we have and our reach in the world, if you like. And we can do all the negotiating on this. We review all the property records as well, so we make sure that that's all in order. We prepare the sales agreements between you and the developer, so you don't need to get involved in that. We do all that. We will act as the intermediary, if you like, in making sure all the forms are done and that it's done correctly. We'll be present at public deeds offices on your behalf to do the property records transfers. Again, going back to my experience being over here, when I first came over here, obviously I had to get my card. I had to go into the legal offices and the various offices I had to attend. And my Spanish at the time was terrible, was non-existent, and obviously I had to have a translator. I had to do. It was really, really difficult. And even now, my Spanish is not great at all. And you really do need help to make sure that you get everything right, because if you don't, you're just going to end up having a massive problem further down the line. We'll accompany you to submit fingerprints and official photographs at the government facilities. Again, that's another part of the process later on once you've got your holding assets. We'll help you open a Spanish bank account. You don't actually have to, just if in case people ask, but it is advisable to do so. So we can help you do that. I opened a bank account when I came over here. Again, I found that a very traumatic process. Although say that it's probably got better over the years since I've been here. But again, it can be difficult. We'll help you do that. We get your tax numbers for all the applicants, because obviously it's not just the main applicant. In most cases, people are tagging other people on, which we come on to, whether that's their partners, their children, their grandparents. So we will get the tax numbers and do all the relevant paperwork for all of you, not just the main applicant as well. We'll assist with a local tax representative, and we'll get the residence permit approved. So it's the residence permit I've got. I haven't got it with me at the moment. Basically, it's a little card. It has your name, your picture on it. It's got your name on it. It's got, it's valid initially for 3 years, then 5 years, then 5 years when you renew it. So we'll do all that. We'll get your cards to you. And really importantly, once we've set up for you your holding asset, we would do all your annual tax returns. So we do everything. This is a full procedure from start to finish. So once you have this holding asset that's giving you the golden visa, we'll manage it for you and submit all your tax returns. So you don't even have to do that. So it's brilliant. And we're even get the rental income for you. So we are doing everything. We are managing that for you. And we do the renewal of your residence permit. So just to clarify, as I say before, when you get initially your permit, your golden visa, it's valid for 3 years, and then you have to renew it, and then it's renewed. That's then for 5 years, and then you renew it again, and that's for another 5 years. And I'll come on to this, but after 10 years, you can actually apply to get your citizenship, which is your passport. Okay, but we'll come on to that in a bit. And we submit the application for citizenship. There you go. So that we would do all that for you. So we do start to finish process, and that is why we set up Holborn Pass for anyone that really is interested in sort of moving forward with a Spanish golden visa. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about citizenship and residency by investment. Okay, so for people that are not familiar with this, and some people might be familiar, some people might not. So just to explain it very sort of clearly, citizenship is basically getting your passport, having all the rights. For example, I'm from the UK, so having your UK passport is essentially like being a passport or being a passport holder. So you have all the rights of any citizen in that country. Now, not every, you can't often, well, in most cases, get your citizenship straight away. It's something you have to live in that country for a period of time to get your citizenship. So normally you start off with getting your residency. So citizenship and residency are different, but residency still gives you a lot of the same benefits as citizenship, which I'll come on to what that gives you. But that's the two different areas. You've got residency and citizenship. And it depends on what program around the world, in our case, it's a Spanish one, which I'll come on to, as to whether how long it takes to get your citizenship or whether you get your citizenship, straight away. And again, I'll come on and talk a little bit around that. But in terms of getting your citizenship or residency, the governments, the foreign governments, the people attracting people would like you to invest in real estate, which we'll talk a lot about today. Make a donation, less popular because it's not such a good investment for people. Invest in a business, invest in funds, or invest in government bonds. And these are all different ways that you can get your citizenship or residency. The cheapest way is nearly always going to be real estate. And as I say, in Portugal, that's now gone. But and real estate again is such a for anybody who's got investments, real estate is such a good diversification for your portfolio as well. So this is why it's a bit of, I suppose people are maybe not going so much towards Portugal because now you can't invest in real estate, whilst people like real estate as part of your diversification of your portfolio. Um, so residency by investment. So essentially, in exchange for contribution, you retain your residency permit, and you can live and you can work in that country. With regards to citizenship, in exchange for contributions, you become full citizens with full rights, as if you were the person born in that country. Again, we'll talk about the differences, but there's not loads as such. So there are the different ways you can do it. Okay. Now, bit of a busy slide here, but this is just explaining the different country index that we do. Okay, so we do citizenship programs on the left-hand side, and these are mainly outside of the EU. So inside the EU, they don't tend to be citizenship programs straight away. You tend to have to live there for a period of time to get your citizenship. So as you can see Antigua, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Vanuatu, Malta, and Turkey. And with these, with regards to certain donations, you can get your citizenship within 4 months or anywhere between 2 and 14 months. However, obviously, that's nothing to do with the EU. So a lot of people here, most people here, I'd imagine, would be interested in EU citizenship. We do that side of things, but obviously, it's the EU side of things that is particularly popular. So the residency programs we look at are Malta, Portugal, Greece, USA, Spain, and the UAE. Everyone is very different. Now, at the top there, you can see it says time to citizenship. So just to briefly discuss that, each country has a different amount of time before you can become a citizen. So Portugal's very popular in that you can actually do it within 5 years. There is a certain amount of time you have to stay in the country during that 5 years, but after 5 years, you can become a citizen, a passport holder of that country. Greece is longer, 7 years. USA is 5 years. With regards to Malta and UAE, you can't at all. But with regards to Spain, it's 10 years. So 10 years, you are effectively having a golden visa. You can then apply for citizenship. You have to live there for 5 years of them 10 years. So again, a longer period of time. But what residency gives you is pretty much a lot of people don't particularly want to become a citizen. If it's not hugely more benefit than being a resident. A little known thing with Spain as well, which we'll explain on the next slide, is you can actually get your passport within 2 years, not 10 years, if you are from an ex-Spanish colony. So I'll go through a list of what them countries are. So you or the other applicants on the application, so there's two of you. If one of you is from an ex-Spanish colony country, so for example, like Mexico, and there's a list on the next slide, you can actually, in as little as 2 years, get your passport. So it's a particularly good scheme for anybody that has, ex-Spanish colony background. Again, I don't want to dwell too long on this because I know it's a very busy slide, but you can see, I don't know, it's on the fourth line down there. If you're looking at Portugal, Portugal used to be 280,000 to get you in, so that's why it was popular. But now it's 500,000 minimum investment. With Spain, second from the right, it's 500,000. That's the minimum investment. However, which I'll talk about, we have a unique scheme where you can actually do it for as little as 350,000. Okay, so that's something we've introduced as unique. It just helps people if they do have a lower budget to effectively get the golden visa. Okay. I won't go through all the other bits there, but there's lots of different bits there about who you can tag on to the application. But we'll talk more about Spain now. I don't want to dwell on too much on to other countries. We just move this across. Right. Okay. So next slide. Why Spain? Well, obviously you're here, I would imagine, because you like Spain and you've been here before. Obviously, I live in Spain. It says it's first country. It's voted the first in the world country worldwide for quality of life. The quality of life here is fantastic. If anyone that's been here or lived here, it's a very laid back lifestyle. Manana, as a lot of people would have heard. But in a nice way, it's very laid back. People take life, they enjoy life, and it's not too hectic or too fast. So it's a great place to live just for the quality of life that you get here. And as I say, I've been here 6 years and I absolutely love it. It's the second most visited country by international tourists. So again, most people have been to Spain, whether you're inside of Europe or outside of Europe. It's not surprising to know it is the second most visited country. It's actually got the fourth biggest economy in the EU and 14th in the world. So it's a very strong economy in Spain. Like every other economy, it did struggle a number of years ago, obviously with the recessions. But actually, it's come out of it really strong, and it's a very strong country. And as I say, fourth biggest economy in the EU. So people looking to come over here and get a golden visa and work, it's a good country to come and do that as well. It's the fifth voted the fifth best country to live in. Don't know personally where you'd vote above that, but as I say, I live here, so I'm biased. But it's voted the fifth best country to live in. Sixth best retirement destination. We've got family members who have retired here. From a health perspective as well, it's a great lifestyle because the heat and living somewhere like this, that you are effectively getting sunshine pretty much every day, and the warmth and the heat really helps a lot of the medical ailments that people have, or certainly in our family it has done. So it's been fantastic from that point of view. And linked to that, actually, it's got the seventh best healthcare system. We've used the healthcare system a number of times, and it's always been fantastic. It's a really, really strong healthcare system, and you can be part of that with the Spanish Golden Visa, which I'll come on to. So the Spain Golden Visa itself, just a little bit about that. It was actually started back in 2013. So it's been going, a good 10 years now. And I will reiterate at this point, it's been going 10 years. So we don't know how long it's going to go for into the future, but it's been there 10 years. In that time, there's been over 9,000 applications approved. So there's a lot of applications for golden visas that have gone through. Okay, so it's a lot of money that's brought into the economy here. Over 3.5 billion is raised in foreign direct investment. So it's a lot of money. Again, it's where's the tipping point of this? Where's it going to get to the point where you think, okay, it's adversely affecting the economy for Spanish residents, with house prices going up? It's an economical argument, really, whether it's going to affect it or it doesn't affect it, but it's done very well. Now, the good thing about the Spanish Golden Visa, and one of the very, I say unique, it's one of the only Golden Visa schemes that allow you to do this. You don't actually need to spend any time in Spain. So linked to the concern possibly of it being withdrawn, people are interested in it. You can actually get it moving now. You don't actually have to live in Spain. So as long as you get the holding asset, so in the case that I'll talk about, is more to do with property. As long as you have that property, you don't actually have to spend any time in Spain. You hold that property, that gives you the golden visa and all the rights to travel around Europe, not with the 90 and 180-day rule or anything like that a lot of people have, or not with visas that you have to fill in or paperwork you fill in. You'll get all the rights, but you don't actually have to be living here. That's different to being a tax resident. That's being a resident in Spain. Any non-EU citizen can apply as long as you don't have a criminal record, pretty much the same as most golden visa schemes. And you can include your spouse, children, and your parents, as long as they're over 65, onto the application. Now, this is again a key point because someone's interpretation of dependency and various other things, the children, have to be proven to be dependent, and there's various other rules. We have been through this time and time again, so we know exactly what you need to prove in order to get the visa. So there's a number of things for example, of proving what if someone is dependent. There's certain ways you can do this. So we're familiar with all that. What your parents coming on there if they are dependent, and there's things you have to do. Again, we can go in more detail with this individually, but just to let you know that you can include a lot of people on the application, and again, we can do all that for anyone looking to use us. So the benefits of the golden visa scheme. Well, as you probably know, it gives you the right to live and to work in Spain. So similar to what I've got, I spend my time in Spain. I travel back to the UK. Spain, I can live and I can work here, and there's no restrictions on that whatsoever. So that's a big driver for people to come here. And again, with such a strong economy as well. But not only that, you can freely travel and stay within all of the 26 Schengen countries. This is a huge benefit. So even people that just take a hold an asset and just use this as a way of having, your visa-free travel throughout Europe. So for example, I go down to our Portugal office sometimes and I can literally just get in the car, drive down there. There's no passport control. You can move around freely. You're not restricted on the amount of time that you can stay in one place, which is, it's such a fantastic benefit of it. So you can freely travel all of the 26 Schengen countries. You can actually establish a business in all of the Schengen countries as well, which some people wish to do. So it's giving you flexibility to move outside of Spain as well. And you can have 5 years tax exemption for expats at 24%. I won't go into too much detail with this because there is an issue, as I say, if you get your golden visa and you become a golden visa, a resident of Spain as such, you won't be a tax resident of Spain, i.e., you won't pay your tax here if you're not here, more than half the year. So it's quite complicated how that works. And us as a company, we are a wealth management company. So I give my clients financial advice when they're in Spain as well. So I'm able to advise on the best, whatever their situation is, wherever their tax residency is, we can actually help them with investments or what to do with their financial situation as well. But we can go into that in more detail anyway if people are interested. And as I say, you get access to world-class healthcare, which is ranked seventh by the World Health Organization. So again, a really good healthcare system for people looking to retire here as well. So a lot of benefits to the Spain Golden Visa scheme, similar to a lot of the other Golden Visa schemes, but there's some really good little niches here for Spain. So a little bit about the facts and the myths of the Spanish Golden Visa. And I put this on here only that we get so many questions, and I think it's some people are a little bit unclear on how this works, okay, and what they may have heard or what they may have been told. So just to run through this, one of them, which I've touched upon, you have to spend time in Spain to maintain residency. Not at all. There's no minimum stay requirements. We can get all your visa sorted. You don't have to come over here and stay. There is a requirement for the fingerprints, that sort of thing, but apart from that, you really don't have to come and stay here, which obviously is a huge benefit for people that want to start the process now and maybe not be moving over here for a few years. You can start the process now and get your golden visa, particularly as it may be being withdrawn, but we don't know. Only residential real estate qualifies, not at all. Any type of real estate. So it can be commercial, which is what we focus on from a perspective of investments. It is the better option in terms of taxes, which I'll come on to. It's a really good way of getting your golden visa. But obviously, residential is an option as well. So you can get residential properties. I put parking in here. You can even buy parking spaces, and that would qualify because it's real estate essentially. So that's how it is now. And you must buy one property of at least 500,000. No, you can invest in as many properties as you like, as long as it reaches that 500,000 mark, and it's purchased after a certain date as well. So if you already hold old property, I'll find out what the exact date is. I think it's 2013, but yeah, it is 2013. Sorry, I don't know exactly what date in 2013. But if you held property before 2013, that doesn't count. So it has to be after 2013. But as long as it adds up to 500,000, you're entitled to the golden visa. There are limitations in where you can invest. No, there's not. You can invest anywhere in Spain, including the Balearics and the Canaries as well. So it doesn't have to be mainland Spain. We focus on commercial opportunities actually a lot in Madrid and Barcelona because the taxes are really good there, and it's obviously very strong commercial opportunities there. So from an investment point of view, that tends to be the strongest. That tends to be what we look at. The process is long and vague. No, it's actually one of the fastest processes amongst all the EU programs. And your residency is actually issued within 21 days of submission. Now, to get this in context, obviously you have to have the holding asset, but then once you've got that, it's only 21 days. And after that 21 days, once you've got the holding asset, you apply, and then it's 21 days, and you're then given your golden visa card. And as I say, that's valid for 3 years. You renew it for another 5 years. You renew it for another 5 years. That's how it works there. So it's a very fast program. And also, people say there's a Spanish program is expensive. Not at all. It's actually one of the cheapest ones available. So aside from the investment you have to get within the property, for example, the actual applying for things such as your NIE, your tax tax number and that side, all the paperwork, that sort of thing, it's very cheap. It's 73 euros. That changes obviously all the time, but it's a very low cost. Some other golden visa schemes, I know Portugal is one, and some of the others actually renewal. So when you're talking about renewing in 3 years or 5 years or 5 years, can be very, very expensive. But Spain is not. Spain is incredibly cheap. So again, there's not any hidden costs once you've got your investments. I have to live in Spain for 10 years to qualify for citizenship. Well, we've touched upon this. Yes, in most cases, to get your citizenship, as I said before, that's your passport, but not in all cases. If you're a former colony of Spain, you can obtain it within as little as 2 years. So I would recommend anybody that has a connection, a partner, a spouse who is from a former colony, which I think it's on the next slide to show you, then I recommend it is a really good scheme to look at. So this is your Spanish passport. So this is your citizenship. So these are the countries that, as I say, it's 10 years to your passport. But if you are from one of these countries, and there are a couple I think I've left off here. So if you have any queries about this and whether it is a country you think should be on there or you want to check out, just email me. But basically, Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, the Philippines, Uruguay, and Venezuela will all qualify for the 2-year citizenship route, and also Andorra and Portugal. But obviously, with Portugal, there'd be little point. But yeah, they're the ones that qualify. I think there's one and two that have been brought to my attention, might not be on here. So as I say, please ask. But a great scheme for people that have that background, if you like. So the requirements to get a passport is you have to do A2 language level. It's a relatively basic language level. If you're staying over here, living here, you'd want to have that basic language level anyway. You have to do a cultural exam, and as I say, if you're living here, you probably know a lot about the culture anyway. But you do have to do a cultural exam, and in an ex-colony, you have to live there for that 2 years. So, when we talk about the 2 years to get your citizenship, you would have to live here. So to live here, I mean, spend more than half the year in the country here. Or it's 5 years if you are not an ex-Spanish colony. So it's 5 years. To be the last 5 years that you're here, you can then apply for citizenship. The passport is ranked third best in the world, so it's a very, very strong passport. It allows you to travel to 190 countries visa-free. So anybody that does get a Spanish passport, it does give you a lot of options. In terms of getting the passport, there are agreements with some countries where you don't have to renounce the passport you already have. With regards to some other countries, they will require you, or they'll ask that you do that. In reality, they don't check anything. They would just say, we don't want you to use your other passport. We want you to, rip it up if you like. However, we know there's people that actually don't do that and they can still use their other passport. So it is a vague rule, but just to bear that in mind. And you can live and work anywhere in the EU, which is obviously a massive draw for people. I am noting a few questions coming in. I'll try to answer some at the end, depending on time. But as I say, if I don't get time, please, anyone, just email me across. I know I've got some already here that were sent in. So investment options. So these are the options. We touched upon this at the beginning. But anybody looking for a golden visa have a number of different routes to do that. So you can do it through real estate, as we keep talking about here, when minimum is 500,000. As I say, we've introduced a scheme for people to do it for less. Okay, the 500. There's pros and cons of doing it for less. I'm not, but you can do it for as little as 350,000. With the traditional option, you can do it for 500,000. We can do it either way for our clients. Other option is you can buy equity in a business, but that's got to be 1 million euros. So obviously that starts to become a little less affordable and less attractive for people. You could put 1 million euros into a deposit or an investment fund. Again, it tends to be a little bit more difficult for people to get to that level. And probably the least popular one, as you can imagine, is government bonds for 2 million euros. So again, I haven't got the statistics, but I think you'll find there's very, very few people would do it that way. So needless to say, real estate is the way that people tend to prefer to do it. So let me just talk through the real estate options. Okay, so this is looking at what we offer or what we do. So the commercial versus residential. So to make sure I'm sort of make this clear, really. So there's 3 ways we can do it for our clients. There's 3 ways you can do it even if you're not using us, okay? But one of these particularly is exclusive to us. So along the top, you've got buying a traditional commercial asset for 500,000. Okay, so that's a very popular way of doing it. When you've got a commercial asset, you pay lower transfer taxes. So it's normally between 1.5% to 2.5%, which is a lot lower than residential. Residential can be very high in terms of the purchasing and the taxes. And with regards to long-term leases on commercial assets, it's a lot cheaper. They're long term, and the tenants cover most expensive. While if you buy a residential property and you rent it, that's not the case. It attracts a lot more taxes, and there's a lot more costs for the person whose property it is. To give you an idea of the residential taxes, just between a commercial and a residential option, it's around 40,000 euros cheaper in taxes to do a commercial option than a residential option on a 500,000 investment. So this is, as I say, if we put a wealth management hat, an investment hat option on, as we say, not being an emotional decision, looking at rational versus emotional, um, commercial makes a lot of sense from a cost point of view. It also has an average rental yield of around 4.5, 5, can be 5.5, 6%. So it's a really good rental yield you've got coming in as well. And what we do is we run the full package. So we deal with everything for you. You have an asset that you hold, but we would manage that for you. We would collect the rents on your behalf. We would do the tax returns on your behalf. So we do everything for you. If essentially you see it as what in point number 3 at the bottom, as a compliance asset. So it's just something you hold that gives you passive income coming in. 4.5, 5%. We've got different opportunities that change all the time. What we would do with our clients is sit down and go through at that point. These are the opportunities that we have. However, we would manage that completely for you. And obviously, you'd have the income coming in and you'd have the asset held. Even if you are not living in Spain, you don't need to be to get the Spanish Golden Visa. The 350,000 leaseback option that we introduced was really a way of trying to help people that had less money to pay up front, particularly with the potential. I'm not saying it's been withdrawn, but in the future, something may happen. So the way that works is you still need 500,000. So we still look at commercial assets, but the client themselves, usually you, yourself, or whoever that may be, will pay 350,000. Okay, plus the cost. So there are taxes and costs for that. It's not a fortune, but it's going to be a little bit more. But it's 350,000 is what the amount you'd pay for the property or for the commercial property. Then immediately we actually pay 150,000 euros, which is the equivalent of 10 years rental income up front. So effectively at a rate of 3%, you paid 150,000 up front, and that will give the 500,000 investment that you need. And then we manage that property. So again, we do all the tax returns on behalf of our clients and everything that needs to be done. We will do it, and we'll go into a lot more detail with anyone that's interested in this, because it is complicated how we've put it together, but it is a really good scheme. There is actually a guaranteed buyback option as well, which can be exercised. Wouldn't always be, because I think the open market can be very good actually over a period of time as opposed to a buyback option. But we put it in place to help people eliminate the risk of their capital when they pay the 350. But the other option is residential. So you can buy a house. You can buy a house or a number of houses in Spain, and that will qualify as long as it's 500,000 or more. The average rental yield on a house is normally, if you're talking about renting out, is normally 2 to 3% on residential. Now, if you're talking about Airbnbs and things like that, you can get more. But in Spain, they tax you very high on things such as Airbnbs, anything that's going to be, seen as a buy to let, if you like. So on average, is 2 to 3%. The average rental yield on a commercial property, as I say, is around 4.5, 5%. So it's about twice as much. So this is what we try to explain to people. If you're going to put your sort of logical hat on and not make it emotional, and you do it as an investment, okay? When you come to a place like when I came over to Spain, where I've actually ended up now is not where when I came over I wanted to be. So you need to have your feet on the ground for a period of time before yes, I want to actually set my roots there. If you come over and think, well, I'm just going to buy somewhere for 500,000 or 600,000 and live there, the issue is it's very expensive to buy in terms of the taxes and everything, the cost of getting that property. And then obviously, if you're going to then want to move, that becomes an issue because you've then got to sell the property and all the hassle that goes with it. What's a really good way of doing it is what we look at for clients is you look at the commercial opportunity, you get that holding asset in place, you've then got the rental yield coming in, and then that allows you to go wherever you want and rent a property, which technically would be twice as good a property because you're getting double the amount of rent than what it would be if you bought somewhere. So you can actually have a very nice lifestyle and use that to actually look around and work out where you want to be. So that's the 3 different options you've got. You've got the commercial, the 350,000 option where you're given the equivalent of 10 years up front, and the residential option. Just a little bit more around the 350,000 sale and leaseback option, okay? As I say, 500,000 is what you need to have. We concentrate on Barcelona and Madrid because that's where the best opportunities are. There's also lower taxation to use in particular areas. What we would do with anyone that was interested is actually sit down with you and say, okay, these are the properties that we have at the moment, and you can have a look and select which ones you feel are best. We can obviously give you all the costings and break it all down for you. But there's lots of different properties. It changes all the time because you can imagine if any commercial property comes up, if it's good, which is what we look out, then it's not necessarily there for very long. So we would do all that part of it for you. But we would immediately, as I say, with the 350,000 lease back option, immediately pay 150,000, which is equivalent of the rental income up front, which gives you the total investment of 500,000. So you pay 350, 150 is added to it. And once you've got that sorted, you can then get your residency. You then have the holding asset in place. The sort of retail commercial businesses we look at, this is the property as well, by the way. It's not just someone working in a business. It is the freehold property and the business itself. So we look at things like bakeries, restaurants, cafes, that sort of thing. And as I say, mainly Barcelona and Madrid city centre. And a sort of example of what that would be, I'll show you on the next slide, but for the 500,000 option. The buyback option for the 350,000, that kicks in after 10 years. That doesn't mean you have to hold the asset for 10 years, but after 10 years, you can exercise the buyback option and get the money that you invested back, guaranteed you will get that money back. In reality, option 2 would be to sell at that point at the market rate. Now, you think that property over a period of time, over the 10 years, will be worth a lot more, you would think. So you're probably going to want to sell it on the open market, which we would instigate and do for you. And no doubt you'd make a lot more money that way. However, if there's some big crash in the market, to alleviate any worry of losing the money you put in, you won't, because we have that guaranteed buyback option on there. The other option is option 3 is after 10 years, you can maintain ownership and carry on collecting rent from that property. So that's another way of doing it. Again, a passive income coming in. So again, you've got 3 options there. But before year 10, you can sell on the open market. Again, we'll go through this individually when that kicks in. We do have guaranteed buybacks, but they're less than 100%. So in my opinion, it's not particularly attractive to do it before the 10 years because, again, you'd be better off selling it on the open market. But again, the option's there. This is for the 350,000. So this is really for people who, don't have the 500,000. If you've got the 500,000, then arguably we would look at something like this. And this is an example of one we've done recently. It's not available now, but this was a 600,000 euro business. And the rent on this that we're collecting for our clients was 3,050 euros. It was a restaurant called Bipolar. So again, it was in the middle of Madrid as well. So really good property, really strong rental yield. I stress again, we would do all the paying the rent to you, collecting the rent. If it's untenanted, if something changes, we deal with all that. That's our problem to deal with. You get paid the rent and don't have to worry about it. We do all the tax returns and everything. So that's an example of a sort of 500,000 property. I'm just checking the time here. Okay, conscious of time. We've only got about 10 minutes left. What I'll do, I think on the next slide. Okay, let's go through some of the questions that I had come in. So the first one I had here is with regards to the golden visa. Does the golden visa allow you to seek employment in Spain? Yes, absolutely. As I said before, the golden visa is essentially similar to what I've got. You have the right to live, to work in Spain, to access to healthcare, and it's just essentially all the rights you need to stay here, and as I say, to travel freely amongst the Schengen areas as well. Next question. So US citizens, any issues to be aware of? No, the application process for US citizens is pretty much the same. Well, it is the same. There's no additional taxation or hurdles that we have to jump through. In fact, I'd say probably in the last 12 months, one of the biggest clients have actually been people from the USA, but I think Spain is a particularly attractive place to come to. The only things to be aware of, which we can help with anyway, by the way, under the arm of our investment advice, would be with regards to USA. You've got to do your annual reporting. It doesn't matter where you become tax resident. So if you came to live in Spain and you spent, more than half a year here and became tax resident in Spain, you still have to fill out a tax form for the US, for the IRS. It's one of only 3 countries that you have to do that. So it's USA, Eritrea, and North Korea. So you're in good company. But they're the only 3 ones you have to fill out an annual tax form for your home country. However, there are a number of concessions you get when you become tax resident somewhere like Spain. As part of the service we offer, obviously it's getting the golden visa, but we will give financial advice on anyone that's in Spain. So whether that be for US connected clients or whether it's for anybody living here, we can help you actually organise your assets in the best possible way as well. Um, okay, is my pension safe? Yes, absolutely. There's so many people. Depends obviously depends what country you're going for, but it's different depending on what country you go for. But yes, I mean, if you're looking, this is coming from somebody in the UK. The UK state pension is paid as normal. If you made a contribution to UK state pension, it can be paid to you if you're living in Spain. And actually, if you become tax resident in Spain, you can have it taxed over here in Spain, which can actually potentially be beneficial. Again, we can look at your pensions for you, but you can have it taxed in Spain. I think you have the option of taxing it in the UK as well. But I think if you become tax resident in Spain, Spain is where you would declare all your taxes. Um, how long to have the deed registered? Okay, so I kind of covered this. But basically, the way the process works with us, if people are looking to get a move on, is normally in month one, we have all the paperwork completed and we have the money transferred to whatever the commercial asset is. Now, a lot of this depends on how quickly people get things back. So people always say, how long will it take? A lot of this is actually in the hands of the people that we are dealing with. So we say exactly what we need. If we can get everything back quickly, then we can get it done very quickly. So normally within month one, that's when all the paperwork and that's done. Normally month 2 or 3 is when the deed is done. It can be sooner. We've done it a lot quicker. But again, that's in certain situations where we can get everything we need. So month 2 to 3 is normally when the deed is done. And that's then when you apply for the golden visa, which we do on your behalf. And that would be issued within 21 days, which is, as I say, one of the quickest times to issue you would get for a golden visa on any of the golden visa schemes as well. How much is it in real terms as a golden visa house purchase cost? So as mentioned, we would look, we can look at residential, but our choice is really to do commercial from a financial services point of view. When we've done Portugal, we looked at real estate when we looked at residential because that was the best way at the time to do it in Portugal. But when you look at Spain, it's very expensive here. So if we're looking at investment options and ways to achieve the Spanish golden visa, then commercial is obviously the way forward. And as I say, it's around 40,000 cheaper in tax as well. In terms of what the actual cost is, obviously, so if you're looking at something like the 350k option, that's you're still going to have to pay taxes on the purchase. You're still going to have to pay the legal costs. So really, that could be up to an extra 15-20,000 potentially. So it's not, there still is cost involved in it. It depends on the location because Madrid, the way it's done in Spain, it depends on your location, depends on what your tax is. So we can show you different options and we can break down the cost for you. And see which is the cheapest way. So we would break all that down for you, but just to give you a sort of ballpark figure. But as I say, we would do all the filing of all your tax returns and everything on anything that is done through us as well. Okay. How do I get started and what are the most common roadblocks process? Well, I would suggest for anyone that's interested is booking a consultation. Obviously, you've got the QR codes there. If that doesn't work, and I do think someone's just let me know, I think there is a problem on the system, just drop me an email. We'll get you in a diary and speak to you next week or give me a ring. If you're watching this video, by the way, at a later point and not live, the QR code could be up and working, but just to let you know. But book a consultation. We can explain the process very clearly for you. The most common roadblock for anybody applying is a lot of time it's always been if you're doing it yourself, it's always going to be the language the language barrier and potentially the order of how you have to do everything. So what we're trying to do is alleviate that, and we can do things incredibly quickly because we've kind of got the people on the ground and the infrastructure to do it. The example was with the Portugal Golden Visa. We were doing these up until about a week or so ago. We're one of the only companies still doing them. We still were able to squeeze the last possible people through the door that could possibly go. And I think it's literally, well, anyone that hasn't set their money now for Portugal, it's over. But we've still got a couple that still probably just go through. The deed's not done by Saturday, I believe it is. Then it's out. But these people, we can do it very, very quickly for people that are interested as well. So and we have done it before. Rumors of the Spanish Golden Visa being cancelled soon. Any idea when? Well, obviously, I keep talking about this, and quite frankly, no, we do not know when. And I don't know it is going to be. You've got to look at it. It's just because Portugal is doesn't mean Spain will be, but it's just the way things work. It tends to mirror countries, and I think Spain being very near to Portugal and also having maybe the same economical issues means that it probably will go. However, we do know with Portugal when it went. it took a long time to go through the parliamentary process because obviously it's the prime minister then has to go to the president and various different paths to get it approved. But actually, when we were first told about it, it was right at the beginning of the year, I think. It's still to hang around a while, so there is still a bit of time. But as I say, just be aware of this. Again, anybody that's interested, even if it's not now, drop me an email. I can put you on a mailing list to let you know if we hear about anything that's changing. Um, okay, I care for my disabled mum. Does that class as a dependent? Right. Okay. So definitely, if they're over 65, if the mum's over 65. However, I'm probably presuming that's not the case. What I suggest with whoever's put that in, can you drop me an email? What I'll do is I'll find out from our technical team as well, because it's a good question that, and I don't want to give the wrong answer on it. So drop me an email. I'll speak to the technical team and then I can get back and let you know. What's the time now? Okay. Okay, we're nearly there. Okay. Two more questions here. Duration. How long is the golden visa valid for initially and can it be renewed? Okay, so we've gone through this. So initially for 3 years. There's different ways of doing this, and we explain it to you. Sometimes it can be issued via your home country, or it can be done in Spain. It's a slightly different way of doing it. If you do it one way, it's a stamp on your passport for a year. And then you come over, you then apply, and then you're given. But either way, it's basically 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, you renew, and that gives you 5 years. At the end of that, you renew again, and it's 5 years. With a golden visa as well, there's no minimum amounts you have to earn. Unlike some of the others, like the non-lucrative visa, you have to have a certain amount, you have to prove a certain amount of income each year. There's nothing like that with a golden visa. It's just a matter of reapplying. So as long as you haven't, picked up criminal records or anything like that, it's a very straightforward and very sort of cheap process to do. Okay, so that's how it works. We process all your renewals as well, so we have ongoing contact with you. So when it comes to renew it, we will do it for you, or certainly do as much of the process as we can do, and then obviously get that sorted for you. Final one here: eligibility. What are the primary requirements for a non-EU national to be eligible for the gold visa in Spain? So there's none. I think we touched on this before. There's none. So you can apply anywhere you are. Spanish colonies is obviously a very quick route. As I say, I'd really recommend if that's something you are interested in. It's it's the quickest route to get your citizenship that you'll find throughout Europe. As I say, in summary, really, as I say, drop me an email, take a note of my phone number there as well. It's free consultations that I would do with you. Look at your personal situation. If you want to go in more detail about the investments that we have available, we can do that. We can talk through it in a lot more technical detail as well, because as I say, I know this is a bit of a high level overview. But I'm happy to go into more detail with people. We use Krista as well. Krista is our expert in all the very fine details of the application process. So anybody that is really thinking quite heavily about this, then I can get Krista to come on with myself and chat to you in a lot of detail, give you the breakdowns, give you the costings, give you the recommendations and the options that you have. So we can do all that for you. But as I say, don't sort of stand on your laurels. If you like, if it's something you're interested in, then look sooner rather than later. It's one of these things you don't want to go and then wish you'd done while it was still available. So as I say, please don't hesitate to contact me. Information is there. If there's any questions I haven't answered, please just drop me an email. I will get back to you. I'm in the office tomorrow. I think I'm booked out, but I'm in the office tomorrow. Anyone wants to speak to me, I'm available next week. If the QR code doesn't work, then simply drop me an email and we'll get you in the diary and we could just have a chat. So I hope that's been of some use. I'm literally just at the end now on my mark. Yeah, it's been an hour. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope that's been of use to you. And I look forward to hopefully speaking to anyone that's interested. Have a good evening.